Welcome, my wonderful students. This is Senior TeleClass on Tektv. I am George Edu, your tutor for Core English Form 3 class. Students, wherever you are, before we start today's lesson, I want you to take your exercise book and your pen. Let's do a very short exercise. After that, I'll tell you why, and then we'll move to today's lesson. Dictation. Number 1, debater. 2, cemetery. 3, privilege. 4, dining hall. 5, occasion. Today we are doing just 5. Let's test ourselves. Start work. I'm quickly going over for you again. 1, debater. 2, cemetery. 3, privilege. 4, dining hall. 5, occasion. Here we are, students. As we were doing it, I was also doing mine. Now cross-check yours with mine. Debater. 1, D-E-B-A-T-E-R. Mark yourself and let's see. Did you write O-R or E-R? Check it for yourself. 2, cemetery. C-E-M-E-T-E-R-Y. Mark yours and let's see. Did you get T-A-R-Y or T-R-Y? Just be honest with yourself. 3, privilege. P-R-I-V-I-L-E-G-E. Check yours. Did you not have D before G? Be honest with yourself. Or did somebody also not even write pray and added village? Dining hall. Number 4. D-I-N-I-N-G. Hall. H-A-L-L. Once again, be honest with yourself. Did you not write D-I-N-N-I-N-G? An occasion. Number 5. O-C-C-A-S-I-O-N. My student out there, what did you get? Is it double C or double S or both? How many times have you not met these 5 words? Ask yourself why you got them wrong. The reason is simple. We see them all the time, but we don't observe them. But my wonderful students, trust me, if you don't master spelling alone, the troubles for you in English language will be enormous. I want to encourage you to get your second Bible, which is dictionary. Most of these words you see on the screen are misspelled in obituaries, in newspapers, billboards, and what have you. Anytime you get double-minded with some of these spellings, consult your dictionary. Otherwise, my dear student, spellings alone can give you hell anytime you write your exams. So take note of that. That is not all. Before we move to today's lesson, I want you to take note of these words or these topics. Yes. You have to take note of these areas of the English language. We can teach you anything, but if you don't master these 5 areas, my dear, your English paper will always be bleeding. You always write your essay, the marks will be so discouraging. Spelling, Concord, tenses, punctuation, expression, or diction itself. And it's easy to know this when you are close to your books and you love reading. Imagine now, currently you are at home. If every day you should take 1 article to read, you'll be amazed that spelling you'll be able to master over time. Let's put this aside. We'll come back to it later on. Let's move to today's lesson. The topic is Concord. Yes, Concord. It has been a big problem for students right from infancy to the university level. And students, I bet you, until you understand in principle what this topic is about, you will think you are speaking English or writing English, but you'll be writing something else. Our lesson objectives. By the end of today's lesson, I expect you to be able to define what Concord is. 2, explain the principles that govern this topic, Concord. And 3, be able to apply the principles of Concord. Yes, our topic can be defined as an agreement between a subject and a verb. My dear students, there's nothing on this earth you can do that will be good if there's no agreement. Agreement or harmony or where 2 ideas are shared by 2 is always important. Even homes, a husband and a wife, if they don't agree, there will be chaos. When individuals in society don't go in line with the rules and regulations in our society, there will be trouble. The same way, if you write your English and we don't see this agreement between a subject and a verb, there will be trouble for you. As lawbreakers go to prison, trust me, you also go to English prison. That's where the red pen will be dealing with you when your essay is written. This agreement operates on 2 principles. 1, a singular subject, anytime you speak, must take a singular verb. Let's have a formula for this. So we can have small mathematics there, SS, which is singular subject, plus SV, which is singular verb, should give us Concord. That is the first principle. The second principle is that a plural subject should take a plural verb, i.e., PS, that is plural subject plus plural verb, should also give us Concord. Students, this whole thing about Concord that we are talking about operate on these two principles. In other words, you cannot have a singular subject moving with a plural verb or a plural subject moving with a singular verb. So then, let's take the pain to identify what singular subjects are. Kofi, one, subject. Ama, singular. A boy, a teacher, he, she, it. So we can see that all these are referring to one entities. Let's take examples of plural subjects. Kofi and Ama. Once the "and" is there, we have connected two individuals. We have boys, we have men, teachers, they, we. And students, take note of the two words in the bracket. I've also highlighted them. You and I. You could be singular or plural depending on the intention of the speaker. Yet, constantly, it always takes a plural verb. Likewise, I. It's also a special subject. It always refers to one person, yet the two principles that I gave you, I doesn't follow them. It is the only subject in the English language that is singular, yet takes plural verb. So for instance, you can have, I have, I walk, and so forth. But what I want you to note now is, let's identify these fundamentally. Let's know them first before we put them to use. So let's move to singular verbs and see how they also behave. Now, students, the moment you see is, in principle, you should know that it's a singular verb. Was is also a singular verb. Has is also a singular verb. These are auxiliary verbs, we call them. So then, if we apply the two principles, she is singular. We know has to be also what? Singular. So we can have, she has a pen. So we have singular subject, she, has, singular verb, singular there, agreement has taken place. This is what we call Concord. So I intentionally use number 3. Can you also try number 1, which is? You will have, for example, let me hear you. I know you have tried. This is mine. Amma is a girl. Kofi was a nice boy. You see how it works. Once you're able to apply these, then the Concord that we are talking about is working. The first principle, singular, singular, is working. Another thing that is very important, I must confess, it took me a while to actually understand. Anytime you add s to a verb, it is singular. Now, sometimes the confusion students get is, when you add s to a noun, for instance, book, you have books. That is plural. The opposite is what happens to verbs. When you add s to a verb, it becomes singular. And that is why you can have, for example, take it down, Amma walks to school. Amma is singular. Walks, by the addition of the s there, we consider that as singular. That is why it's Amma walks to school. If you don't know, you are likely to say Amma walk. Because when you took nouns without s, you had singular. Unfortunately, that is not the case for verbs. As some add just s, others add even es. So you can see more examples on the board. Goes and thus. You see we have es this time added to the go to make it singular. We have es added to it to make it singular. That is why you will speak to say, Amma does her homework every day. And not Amma do. The same way, Yao goes to training every day. And not Yao go. Students, that is the reason. So you need to identify in principle. When you see singular verbs, you should know that this is how they behave. This is how they behave. Then, when you are speaking and you say, Kofi have a pen. Because you have been able to record in mind that has is rather singular and not plural, you will quickly realize that you have made a mistake. And so you can easily correct yourself and say, Kofi has a pen. In fact, you can even correct your own colleagues and your own siblings, even at home. So take note of that. There were others like lifts and leaves. And take note of the two, the way I pronounce them. Lifts and leaves. Remember your orals? Lev is a short vowel. So you see, Kofi lefts at Oforikrom. Amma is leaving. You see the E sound there. So that is just by the way, take note of that. Likewise, say, which is says, and not say. So students, look at the few examples there and keep them in mind as such. That any moment you add s to a verb, you make it singular. The third one, some of them too, instead of es or s, or rather add ies. So for instance, you can have Amma cries a lot. Did you see that? The last time I marked a student's script, you won't believe what she wrote. Amma cries, and the spelling of the cries was C-R-Y-S. I'm sure she forgot that when you have the Y, it should drop for I-E-S to take place. So please take note of these examples. Take note of them. Take note of them so that when you write, you'll be able to know and use them well. Examples of plural verbs. Examples of plural verbs. You remember we had is for singular. Its plural is are. So girls are good. Try the second one for me. Try it. The other one is have. What was the opposite? Has for the singular. You remember walk? This is plural. The other one was walks. And then live. The other one was lives. You see what is happening? That is how they operate. Sometimes it's very difficult and confusing. I must be honest with you that at one point you add s to a noun, we consider it to be plural. You add you add s to a verb and it is rather singular. My dear, that is the rules of the game. You just have to understand it and apply it. It is not a language, it is rule governed and was handed down to us, and that's how you are supposed to take it. So please, this is what I want you to just get from me in principle for now. Anytime you add s to a verb, it is singular. Anytime you drop the s, it is plural. So if you take the examples on the board, they were here. As an example. The opposite, she was here. You know that in principle, this is singular, this is plural. You see the picture? So that is how they work. As we see them, these are singular, plural verbs. These are plural verbs. Without s, please, I want you to keep it in principle. Just memorize them. That anytime the verb drops the s, we have plural. Anytime the verb adds the s, we have singular. So, for instance, babies cry every day. Babies cry. What do you see there? Babies. And then cry. A baby. So what happens? Cries. You see the point? A baby cries. Singular here. Singular verb here. Plural subject here. Plural verb here. This is what earlier on I was explaining to you. These are the principles that guide these two. This is what guides the principles that I was telling you earlier. I hope you have taken note of them. Basically, this is what we have done so far. We have looked at the definition of Concord. I hope you remember and you can easily repeat it for me. What did I say? I said it's an agreement between what and what? A subject and a verb. And by that, what did I mean? I said two principles guide it. And what were these principles? A singular subject should take a singular verb. How do we know singular subject? A singular subject should be talking about one entity, one thing, one person or animal. A singular verb should have s and nothing more, or es or ies, depending on the type of verb we have. I also pointed out to you the auxiliary verbs which were singular. I mentioned is, was, and then has. And then the second one principle, plural subject, and plural verbs also moving together. And what did I say? The plural subjects should talk about more than two or more persons, things, animals, or what have you. And the verbs, how should they behave? They should either be the alternative for is, which is are, was, which is were, and has, which is have. Just a rough sketch there for you to remember. These are their plural forms. And then the main ones made mention of the plural verbs, which include walk, no S there, go, no S there, cry, no Y, no IES there. These are also plural verbs. I hope you have taken note of them. If you have fundamentally understood these two principles, then we are good to go next time when we meet. Before I sign off, take this assignment. It's a very simple one. List 5 examples of singular subjects and use them to form your own sentences. 2. List 5 examples of plural subjects and use them to form your own sentences. My dear students, Ebenezer, this is how far our dear Lord has brought us. Till we meet again, stay safe and be good. God bless you. Bye-bye.